get it right.
Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Tox Drop. I'm your host, Maggie McIntyre, and I'm so glad you're here for part one of our two-part episode with Dori Stewart. Dori is a mother, international franchisor, author, and the owner of Fredericksburg Neighbors. Welcome, Dori. Let's drop in. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is going to be fun.
I am so excited to have you here. And a little funny fact, Dori and I had lunch together a couple of weeks ago just to chat and get to know a little bit more about each other before she came on the show. And it was amazing how many sort of odd similarities that we had, so many things that we share and have in common that I had no idea before meeting. So it just made our interview even more meaningful and exciting. So it's just great to have you on here and to share with the audience your fascinating story of success coming from education and getting to where you are today. So here we go. One of the questions, I don't know if you get asked this a lot, but I'm always curious, how many hours a week as an entrepreneur are you working?
Oh, so many. 50, 60 plus sometimes.
And do you find that you're able to balance that? I mean, you're married, you've got kids. I know they're adults at this point, but you've got a spouse, you've got kids, friends, a life outside of work, ideally. How do you balance it all, or do you?
I think balance is a bit of a myth. It definitely helps that my husband is also a business owner, so he understands, and my kids are out of the home. You know, they're adults now. So yeah, balance.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I bring up a story that I heard years ago. It was the CEO of PepsiCo, and again, I forget her name, but somebody asked her that question, and she laughed a little bit, and she said, "There's absolutely no balance when it comes to motherhood and being CEO of a business, that it is about juggling." And she told a story about her young daughter who the night before, like they always do, came to her and said, Mom, you've got to make homemade cookies. Tomorrow's cookie day, and it's my turn to bring them in. And pretty much the story goes that whoever had the best cookies in class was the class hero. And this was just her time to shine, and they could not be store-bought. She was emphatic. They have to be made from scratch. And so the CEO was like thinking to herself, well, there is no way. I don't have ingredients at home. I never bake. I don't cook. I don't do any of that. And I'm not going to have time to make 30 some cookies for her class tomorrow. So she gets to work the next day, and PepsiCo, of course, has this very large building, and they have their own cafeteria and cooking staff. And she goes down to the cafeteria the morning before work begins and says to them, I will pay you whatever amount of money I need to pay you to make the best chocolate chip cookies you've ever made in your life for my daughter's class. So they have at it. They make, these 36 magnificent chocolate chip cookies. She gets it over to her daughter's school, and her daughter is the class hero because everyone just declares that these are the best cookies they've ever had. And so as a mother entrepreneur, do you have stories that are similar to that? Can you relate to that?
I can completely relate to that. And there are several stories. One of which, when it was my turn as a mom to bring the snacks for the baseball team. And of course, I'm running from here and there and don't have time to make cookies or cupcakes or anything like that. I have been known to go through the drive-through McDonald's and get the little bags of apples, and that was my contribution.
Right,
snack
your apple slices.
My apple slices. But you have to do what you have to do when you're a parent.
And they got the apple slices. And, I think time is limited. So if you're sort of time poor, how else can you help? And sometimes it could be making a donation. Maybe you don't have the time to donate, but you could donate something else. So we've donated gift cards. Sometimes it's just a financial donation, period. Yeah. But however it is, you show up and you find a way. But yeah, I think balance is definitely overrated. Especially coming from the hours you're talking about working. I mean, how do you balance all of that? So taking us back, you are the owner of Fredericksburg Neighbors. And I do want to share with everybody that you are also an author of a fantastic book called Own the Block. If you are in business, thinking about getting into business, work for a business, maybe it's none of your business. I don't even know, but this book is for you. I'm telling you, I'm more of a book on audio person simply because, again, of time constraints.
Mm-hmm.
But when I opened this the other day, I had a hard time putting it down because it spoke to me. I was like, Dori girl, you are right on point. So I bought a lot of these. I bought them all for my staff, and I'm giving them out to people. Our producer of the podcast is going to be getting one too. So, Alyssa, this is for you. But anyway, so there's stuff that my staff and I will be going through. So you've got some really great points. But before you were Dori the author, you were Dori a teacher, Dori the teacher. So walk us back from there. You moved here at a young age from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Went to school and became a teacher. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I taught in both Prince William County schools and Stafford County schools. I taught high school engineering, 11 years total. And I loved teaching. I was also the advisor of the school's Technology Student Association, which was a lot of fun.
Right.
I got to take my high school students all around the country and compete against other students in engineering competitions.
So you were a high school teacher. What
Mm-hmm.
You had your undergrad and your graduate in education, right?
Yeah, my undergrad is elementary, middle, math, and science education. My graduate degree is technology education.
And then that's what you went on to teach in high school.
Yes.
Okay. So when it comes to teaching, you said you were able to take your students all around the country. And that's because you guys were doing competitions. Mm-hmm. Would you say that was one of the things you loved most about teaching?
Absolutely. Hands down, it was my favorite thing. I'm kind of a competitive person.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting to, kind of help my students through that was really cool. But also I loved giving my students the opportunities to excel at something. A lot of high schools have, their sports heroes that walk around the school, and, they get all of the recognition and the praise when there's, a championship football game
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. I was able to give the kids that maybe weren't athletic, right, more on the academic side, give them those same opportunities to be the school heroes, just in a different way.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. And so important, because really what it is if I find, just with children especially, but adults as well, if there isn't the opportunity or the outlet, these gifts and really our personal genius never gets to be exposed or shared because we don't have an outlet for it. Yeah. So if that hadn't been there, those kids would have, maybe never known that was something really great that they would love and have a passion for and be good at. Yeah. Do you know if any of them went on to take that and run with it career-wise?
So many of them.
That's so cool.
I have a handful that I still keep in touch with.
Oh my gosh.
And it's really fun. Here's a funny story.
They're pulling up to Dori's house in their Lambos. That's what they're doing. You know it.
Someone at the chamber came up to me just last week, and she introduced herself to me, and she said, "Okay, this is going to sound crazy, but you taught my husband."
No. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That has got to be the best.
She was like, I had taken a picture with her, at a chamber event, and she said that her husband saw the photo and was like, "You know who that is, don't you?" She was my high school engineering teacher.
That is that gives me chills, truly. That's so cool. Just because I don't have those types of stories, but just, when you have those breakthrough with kids, I guess really kind of with anybody, but as teachers, it's typically with kids. It is, when you have a breakthrough moment and they get something, they understand something, or you've ignited something in them. And, you see it with your own children too, but it is one of the gifts of teaching, being able to do that with somebody else's child, yeah. Especially when beforehand, maybe if they were, stereotypically kind of like the geek or the outsider, to then be like, wow, I'm really pretty exceptional at this. That kind of confidence, that may have been the first time in their life they ever got to show off or showcase their gifts, So, that is so cool. Good for you. So, but while loving it, there's still hardships that come with teaching. And that ended up kind of leading to you opening up your first business. So tell us how that came about. What was the name of your first business? Was Engineering for Kids?
Yes.
Okay. And how did that come about?
So while I was a teacher and the advisor for the Technology Student Association, I had my own children. and they were elementary aged. And so after school, I would leave the high school, go pick them up from the elementary school, take them back to the high school so that I could work with my TSA kids. And they would sit and do their homework, and they were fascinated watching what my high school students were doing. And so one summer, I had the opportunity to take my high school students to Orlando, Florida for a competition. And I decided my kids are 5 and 7. They'll never forgive me if I don't take them to Orlando,
Yep.
home of Mickey Mouse.
Yes.
So I decided that I was going to be able to carve out of the week a Disney day. And so I thought my kids were going to complain. I thought they were going to wake up each morning and say, is today the day we're going to Disney? But instead, they woke up each morning and asked, is today the day we're going to get to see the animatronics competition? You know, when do we get to see Flight Endurance? And so it hit me, my own kids need this. And I started looking for engineering programs for the elementary age kids. This was 2008.
Okay.
Engineering was not yet taught at the elementary level. And so unless, you know, you were in the gifted and talented program, and STEM wasn't an acronym anyone knew yet.
And tell us what that acronym is, just for those that may not know.
Science, technology, engineering, and math.
Okay.
And so that wasn't really anything that anyone knew what it was yet. It wasn't really in the schools yet. And so that fall, I received a flyer home in my kid's backpack asking parents if they would like to volunteer to teach an after-school program as a fundraiser for the PTA. And I thought, you know, this is my opportunity.
Yes.
I know how to do this. My undergrad degree is elementary, middle, math, and science. So I decided to take what I was doing with my high school students, change it up to make it developmentally appropriate for the elementary age kids. And that following fall, I taught my first Engineering for Kids after school program, civil engineering. And it was really exciting. At first, I thought if I just get a few kids sign up to keep my own kids company in the class, I'll be happy. But the class filled up, and the principal pulled me aside, teachers pulled me aside, parents, they wanted to know what else I had to offer.
Right.
So I started adding more programs, you know, all the different fields of engineering, robotics, electronic game design, all of that, and started offering birthday parties and summer camps. And that following summer, I made more money in one summer with Engineering for Kids summer camps than I did an entire year of teaching high school.
Which we've said speaks well for the business, but poor for teaching, or maybe a little bit of both. But my gosh, yeah. So then it's like, it's kind of a light goes on at that point, if it didn't beforehand. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, I decided, okay, let's see what happens. Let me quit my teaching job and let me put my full-time focus and grow this thing and see what I can do with it.
Okay, let's be real. We all want that fresh, glowy skin that looks like we've been sleeping 8 hours a night and drinking green juice. Even when, if you're like me, you've been swapping that green juice for Coke Zero and you're getting more like 5 hours of sleep instead of 8. Well, that's where our medical spa, Rejuvelay's Med Spa, comes in. We do everything from relaxing facials to laser treatments, body contouring, injectables, and biostimulation. The team at our medical spa really listens to you and customizes treatments based on your goals, your lifestyle, and your budget. If you've been thinking about giving your skin a little love or a big transformation, be sure to check us out at rejuvelaysmedspa.com or feel free to stop by. You deserve to feel confident and radiant, and Rejuvelay's Med Spa makes it easy. Trust me, your future glowing self will thank you. Before you made the decision to quit, all of this growth is happening. But on the personal side of things, let's walk back just a little bit to sort of tie those two together. You'd gone through a divorce and then remarried at this point. And your husband at the time is now, you're talking to him about these ideas. And what is, you've got a lot of people out in the community supporting you in these endeavors. What was he saying about it?
Well, remember, this is 2008, 2009 at this time. And you remember it was a pretty big recession that we were going through during that time. And getting his buy-in was extremely difficult. He said I was foolish and crazy and was not supportive at all. And so it wasn't easy making that decision to quit. But I had a fire in me to make it work.
Right.
My marriage was not going well. And, it's very difficult to get out of a marriage. It's very, it's not something that happens overnight. It takes a long time to
It's
get
an
out.
entire life tied together. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of untangling. Yeah.
Right. And so I knew that this was going to be my way out. I knew that if I had a lot of belief that this was something that the world needed, and I had proven it in my own community, and I knew that I could grow it into something big. And now let's be real, if I was happy and content and comfortable in my personal life, I probably would still be a teacher.
Really?
Because I did love my job.
Yeah.
I did love teaching.
Okay.
I'd probably still be teaching if I was, comfortable and didn't have that that real need to, start something big. I probably would have stayed, maybe volunteering after school programs and things like that. But I probably wouldn't have grown it to the scale that I ended up growing it and as fast as I grew it.
Right. I mean, they say what necessity is the mother of invention. So at that point, when it comes to the business side of things, there's a need for it in the community. But for the personal side of things, as the two are really parallel, there was also that need within your own home and within your own life to grow it, because this was your opportunity and your way out.
Absolutely.
Okay. You've got a lot of great quotes from your book, so many that talk not only about leadership in business and feeling seen with business, but I do feel like there are so many that can be applied personally as well. You do talk a little bit about being seen. Or actually, you talk a lot about being seen as a business owner in your book. And I wondered if that was relevant to maybe how you felt at home as well. I mean, you're sharing this idea, you put a lot of work into it. It's proven itself. When you shared that with him and he wasn't supportive of you opening your business, would you say that you didn't feel seen? You didn't feel understood in that moment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I even hid working on it.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't feel free or comfortable without ridicule working on the business in front of him. And so, I got up very early in the morning when everyone else was asleep to work on the business because he even made a comment at one point that said only one of us can be successful in this house.
And you were like, I know, and that's why I will be.
It gave me more determination for sure, and, unfortunately, like we said, on a teacher's salary, supporting two kids would be extremely difficult. And so I knew that I was going to leave at some point. And
this is part of your strategy.
Part of my strategy.
Yeah.
And so I built it quietly.
Quietly and quickly. So in 3 years' time, talk about that. You launched it, you opened it, and where was the first location was by our old location, right? By the post office?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, because that's I remember, like I said, I remember seeing it. Okay, so you did that and talk to us about how you ran it.
Yeah, well, I started out just renting out classroom space from Stafford County Parks and Recreation, and then ultimately decided I would save money actually by having my own location than paying hourly rent for classroom space. So that's how I ended up opening the Discovery Centers, what I called it. Then I started getting interest from surrounding counties because they saw me partnered with Stafford County Parks and Rec. So Spotsylvania, Fairfax, Prince William started asking me to offer programs. And so I was doing that. So I expanded my staff so that I could offer programs.
I was going to ask, yeah. So definitely needed some help with that.
Needed some help. And then I started getting, to my surprise, people who were finding me from all over the world. And so, for example, I had someone from India contact me and asked if I would sell my curriculum. And then I had someone in Chicago contact me and ask if I could bring engineering for kids to their community. So I had to start thinking about different ways to scale my business. There's a lot of different business models out there, licensing, franchising, growing it, through corporate locations, things like that. And I, after research, decided franchising was the best business model for this type of business.
Why so?
I really needed that owner operator that knows their own community best, and who could be the person who keeps the quality, keeps the quality there.
You say that in your book, you talk about winning your zip code first. And that, even after 20 years of being in business myself, I mean, your book's already just, there's so many things in there that just were like really resonated. And that was one of them. We tend to think globally, if not globally, regionally. Really, though, if we work on what is right in front of us first,
Yes.
we establish that connection, we build with the people who are closest to us. That is that infrastructure and really that great foundation for then sharing that with everybody else. And that's what you did.
Yeah, if I had not won Stafford County, I wouldn't have been seen by the surrounding counties.
Right. And I really think too, just on a much larger topic, when we think about solving world problems or improving the world around us and the world for our children, we often lose sight of the fact that the best control and the best likelihood of that happening is if we just turn back into our own community and our own home life. Start there. Get things right in your own world and in your own home and what's under your roof. And then worry about the rest of the world after that, And I think for business owners, again, kind of paralleling that idea, let's worry about what's right in front of you first and then go from there.
Absolutely.
So you've scaled this business. You're now an international franchisor, which is crazy. Were you still married at the time when you became a franchisor?
Yes. So I was still married when I sold my first franchise.
Okay.
So that was in 2011. So I was still married. It was a couple of years into it when I finally was able to leave. So, when you start a franchise company, there's a lot of infrastructure that has to be put in place, a lot of legal work, a lot of expense to get everything ready. All of your, your franchise disclosure document, all of your operations manuals, all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't making a lot of money yet in the first few years. So I had to wait until I could afford to leave and be able to afford to take care of myself and my kids.
Did he change, kind of jumping back to the personal part of it, did he change his tune at all when he saw that you were doing well and that the business was a success?
Publicly.
Okay.
Publicly, so proud.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
So proud publicly, behind closed doors. Don't let this get to your head. Only one of us can be successful in this house. Very upset if I worked too much. So I had to build in private.
Wow. So you've got all of this great success business wise. And then the paradox, of course, is that you're literally building a business while other things at home are falling apart. And so let's kind of move over to that for a little bit, because we have a lot of listeners that have been in similar positions, whether they're entrepreneurs or not, whether they're working outside of their home or not, but relating to a marriage, and a marriage that just, there wasn't really a way to resolve it positively. How did you plan, or what was your exit strategy there to protect yourself and your children, and in this case too, your business?
Yeah, it wasn't easy. But it took me a couple of years. I had hired an attorney. Probably a year before I actually left, I already had an attorney who was giving me some great advice on how to make sure that I was protected. So it was really important that I took that step ahead of time, because the person that I was married to had a lot of resources, and I knew that it was not going to be easy. And so I had to make sure that I was prepared, not just for my sake, but for the sake of my kids and the sake of my business too, because I had a lot to protect. I had, at this point, I had a couple hundred franchisees to protect.
Wow.
And the responsibility that comes along with that, not only do I have franchisees, these franchisees have employees, and so I have a lot to protect at this point. And so I had to be very careful and strategic throughout the process. And then, once I made the decision to leave, it was literally I'm leaving. And the next day I left.
So when that happened, all of this is planned for quite some time. I would think it's so difficult to be living sort of side by side with somebody knowing that this is happening. I mean, that's got to be, you just must have felt like you were holding your breath for the last year or two.
It was extremely stressful.
Yeah. I'm sure. When you left, he was not at home. He was out of town, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you hired a moving company.
I hired a moving company. I did it all in one day. Just got out as fast as I could. I didn't even try to take much. It was just my personal belongings and then my kids' personal belongings, and that was it. Mm-hmm. At that point, I didn't care about stuff.
Right.
It didn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I left. I got my own house, moved the kids, and it's interesting because at that time I thought, I'm ruining my kid's life. You know, I put them through divorce before. I mean, they were very young when I went through my first divorce, but all of those feelings of, I'm screwing up my kid's life. Yep. You know, what am I doing? You know,
I failed again. Yes. Failure. I'm not showing them a good relationship. Or they think they can just walk away from marriage. Like, I've been divorced twice too. The guilt. You feel the first time the first time is sad. And, but you feel like, okay, well, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that can understand. Yeah. The second time for me, I felt embarrassed. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Felt a lot of shame.
A lot of shame. Mm-hmm. And I thought that, you know, my kids at this point were in 7th grade and 9th grade. And I hadn't talked to them about it, you know, and so that scared me too, you know, kind of blindsiding them too. But what ended up happening is a sigh of relief for all three of us.
That's amazing.
And we ended up having the next, you know, several years, the rest of their high school ended up being such like the happiest time, you know, with the three of us.
That's perfect.
Just the three of us throughout the rest of their high school. So,
well, Dori, thank you so much for your candor, for your honesty, and really for your vulnerability today. I've learned so much about you, and I'm just so impressed. I am so excited for our audience to tune in next week when we discuss in episode 2 where you are today, how all of this stuff that we talked about today has led to where you are now. You found love again with a wonderful man. Your kids are doing great. Your business is thriving, and you've got a community that owes you a debt of gratitude because you're doing some marvelous things here in the Stafford, Fredericksburg, and surrounding areas. Thank you, audience, for tuning in, and we will be dropping back by next week.
We're doing it right.